Princess Charlotte was too quiet. Sergeant Thomas Wright had been on Royal Protection Detail for 7 years. He knew the rhythms of palace life, the patterns of royal children. Charlotte was usually polite, composed, but with that spark behind her eyes. The kind of kid who asked questions, who noticed things. Today, nothing, just silence. The garden reception was winding down. Autumn sunlight filtered through the trees. Photographers captured the usual shots. King Charles greeting ambassadors, William and Kate making rounds through the guests. Everything normal, everything routine. Except Charlotte. She stood near her mother, hands clasped in front of her. School uniform perfectly pressed. Hair neat, posture straight. But her eyes stayed down. When guests approached to say hello, she smiled. The right smile, the practiced one. Then her face went blank again. The moment they turned away. Wright watched from his position near the east entrance. 20 feet away, close enough to respond, far enough to be invisible. That's how royal protection worked. You saw everything, you said nothing. But before we continue, make sure you hit subscribe. Drop a comment below where you're watching from. Now, back to what happened next. Camilla approached Charlotte. Wright's attention sharpened without him realizing why. The Queen Consort bent down slightly, speaking to Charlotte in a voice too low to hear. Charlotte's shoulders tensed. Just for a second. Then she nodded. Once. Twice. Her hands gripped together tighter. Camilla smiled. The kind photographers loved. She touched Charlotte's shoulder, squeezed gently, then moved on to greet another guest. Charlotte didn't move for a full 10 seconds after Camilla walked away. Just stood there, staring at the grass. Wright had seen this before. Not here. Not in palaces. In combat zones. In places where people were afraid but couldn't show it. Where survival meant keeping your face neutral and your mouth shut. He pushed the thought away. This was a garden party. Charlotte was fine. Just tired. Just having an off day. But he kept watching anyway. The reception ended at 3:30. The royal family moved inside through the south entrance. Wright followed protocol, maintaining distance, scanning exits and entry points out of habit. His shift ended in an hour, standard rotation. Charlotte walked ahead with her mother and brothers. George said something, probably teasing. Louis laughed. Charlotte didn't react, just kept walking, one foot in front of the other. Kate noticed. Wright saw it in the way she glanced down at her daughter, the slight crease between her eyebrows. She said something quiet. Charlotte nodded, but didn't answer. They disappeared around the corner toward the private quarters. Wright returned to his post, logged the event, filed the report, everything normal, everything routine. Except it wasn't. Right, Commander Wells appeared beside him, tablet in hand. I'm pulling you for Charlotte's. Detail tomorrow. Afternoon event at the museum. Yes, sir. Wells hesitated. You notice anything off today? So Wright wasn't the only one. She was quiet, sir. Yeah. Wells tapped his screen, making notes. Keep an eye on it. Probably nothing, but keep an eye anyway. Understood. Wells left. Wright finished his shift log and headed toward the staff quarters. The long corridor was empty, late afternoon sun casting shadows through the tall windows. His footsteps echoed on polished marble. He didn't expect to see Charlotte. She was alone. No security, no nanny. Just a 9-year-old girl in a school uniform, standing outside a storage closet like she was waiting for someone. Wright stopped. Protocol said, alert her assigned protection officer. Protocol said, don't engage directly unless there's immediate danger. But Charlotte looked up at him with those careful eyes, and Wright's instincts kicked in before his training could stop him. Your Highness, he kept his voice gentle. Ah, you all right? Charlotte's hand moved to her jacket pocket. She touched it once, patted it twice, then dropped her hand to her side like she'd been caught doing something wrong. I'm fine, thank you, perfect manners, perfect pronunciation, but her voice was too small. Wright should have walked away, should have radioed her PPO, should have followed every rule in the book. Instead, he moved closer. Not too close, just enough to lower his voice. "If something's wrong," he said carefully, "you can tell me. That's what we're here for." Charlotte looked at him for a long moment, weighing something, deciding something. Then she glanced down the corridor, checking if anyone was coming, and stepped closer to the storage closet door. "I dropped something," she said. Still too quiet. "In there, earlier today. I need to get it back." The storage closet was locked, staff access only. Charlotte shouldn't have been anywhere near it. "What did you drop?" Wright asked. She hesitated. "My phone. The old one. I was using it for a school project." Wright knew the Royals' schedules. Charlotte had no school projects requiring unauthorized storage closet access. "When did you drop it?" "This morning, before the reception." Her hands twisted together. "Please, I just need to get it back. I can't." She stopped, swallowed. "I need it." The guard had seen a lot of things in 7 years. He'd learned to read faces, body language, the space between what people said and what they meant. Charlotte was lying, but not about needing that phone back. Wright pulled his radio. "This is Wright. I'm at the South Corridor near Storage C7. Princess Charlotte misplaced an item, requesting access clearance." The response crackled back. "Stand by." Charlotte watched him with an expression Wright couldn't quite read. Hope, maybe, or fear that he'd just made everything worse. 30 seconds later, clearance granted. Wells is sending supervisor. Copy that. They waited in silence. Charlotte's eyes kept flicking to the door. Her breathing was too fast. "How long have you been standing out here?" Wright asked. "Not long." "Does your mother know where you are?" "She thinks I'm in my room." The supervisor arrived, an older woman named Mrs. Patterson, who'd worked palace security for 20 years. She gave Charlotte a warm smile, then looked at Wright with practiced skepticism. "Lost phone in a storage closet?" "Yes, ma'am," Charlotte said before Wright could answer. "I was playing in the corridor this morning, and it fell behind some boxes when the door was open." Mrs. Patterson's expression softened. She unlocked the door and flipped on the light. "Well, let's find it then." The closet was small. Shelves lined with supplies, linens, cleaning products, spare furniture pieces, boxes stacked in the corner. Charlotte moved immediately to the far right corner, behind a tall stack of storage containers. She knelt down, reached behind them, and pulled out a small phone. Old model, cracked screen protector. "Got it," she said, holding it up. Relief flooded her face. Mrs. Patterson smiled. "Mystery solved. Now off you go, Your Highness. I believe your mother will be looking for you." "Yes, ma'am. Thank you." Charlotte clutched the phone and hurried past them, back toward the private quarters. Wright watched her go. Something about the whole situation felt staged. Too convenient. Too rehearsed. Mrs. Patterson locked the closet. "Kids," she said, shaking her head with amusement. "Always into something." "Yeah," Wright said. But he didn't believe it. He thought about Charlotte's hand patting her pocket, the nervous gesture, the way she looked at him, like she was asking for help without saying the words. What the guard didn't know yet was that finding that phone would trigger a chain of events that would shut down the entire palace. His shift ended at 6. He changed into civilian clothes, logged out, headed toward the staff exit. Normal evening, normal routine. Except he couldn't stop thinking about Charlotte's face. The next afternoon, Wright arrived for museum detail. Small event, Charlotte and a few classmates touring a new exhibition. Educational, low-key. Wright's job was simple. Stay close, stay alert, blend into the background. Charlotte seemed better. She laughed at something one of her friends said. She asked the museum curator questions about Roman artifacts. She looked like a normal kid having a normal day. But when Camilla appeared, unscheduled, unexpected, Charlotte went still. The Queen Consort swept in with her usual entourage, smiling for the cameras that shouldn't have been there. "Charlotte, darling, what a lovely surprise to find you here." Charlotte's smile appeared instantly, perfect and practiced. "Hello, grandmother." Camilla leaned in, kissed Charlotte's cheek. "I thought we might have tea afterward, just the two of us. We have so much to catch up on." Charlotte's hand moved to her pocket, the same gesture. Once, twice. "I think Mummy wanted me home after this," Charlotte said carefully. "Oh, I've already cleared it with Catherine." Camilla's voice stayed light, friendly. "She thinks it's a wonderful idea." Charlotte looked at her friends, at the curator, at Wright standing 10 feet away. Her eyes met his for just a second. "Help." She didn't say it, didn't have to. "Of course," Charlotte said to Camilla. "That sounds lovely." The museum tour continued. Wright stayed close. He watched Charlotte's body language, shoulders tight, movements careful, like she was trying to take up less space. He watched Camilla too, the way she kept one hand on Charlotte's shoulder, guiding, controlling. When the tour ended, Camilla's assistant appeared with a car. "Ready, ma'am?" Wright stepped forward. "Excuse me, I'll need to accompany Princess Charlotte." Camilla turned, eyebrows raised. "That won't be necessary, Sergeant. Charlotte will be with me. Palace protocol requires—" "I'm aware of palace protocol." Her smile didn't waver, but her eyes went cold. "Charlotte is perfectly safe with her grandmother. We're going to Clarence House for tea. You can verify with Commander Wells if you'd like." She was calling his bluff. Royal family members could override security protocols within reason. A grandmother taking her granddaughter for tea absolutely qualified. Wright had no grounds to object. Charlotte got into the car. She looked back once as the door closed. That same careful expression, that silent plea. Then they were gone. Wright immediately radioed Wells. "Sir, Princess Charlotte just left with Queen Camilla. Unscheduled. No advance notice on my detail sheet." "Confirmed," Wells replied. "The Queen Consort's office cleared it an hour ago. Stand down." "Sir, I need to note that Princess Charlotte appeared." "Appeared what, Wright?" "How did you explain a feeling, an instinct, a child's silent cry for help that no one else seemed to see?" Reluctant, sir." Silence on the other end. Then, "She's 9 years old being taken for tea by her grandmother. Log it and move on." "Yes, sir." Wright logged it. But he didn't move on. He thought about Charlotte standing outside that storage closet, about the phone she'd retrieved, about her hand patting her pocket like she was checking for something precious, about the fact that she'd had that phone with her at the museum. 3 hours later, Wright was off duty in the staff common area when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. "Hello?" Silence. Then a small voice. "Sergeant Wright?" His blood went cold. "Princess Charlotte? I'm sorry to bother you. I didn't know who else to call," she was whispering. "I'm still at Clarence House and can you come get me? Please." Protocol screamed at him. This violated about 15 different rules. Charlotte had protection officers. She had staff. She had parents. "Where are your assigned officers?" Wright asked carefully. "Grandmother sent them away. Said we wanted privacy." Her voice cracked slightly. "I asked to go home and she said, 'Not yet.' But it's been hours and she keeps... I just want to go home." "Does your mother know where you are?" "I don't know. I think so, but..." She stopped. "Please, I know I'm not supposed to call you directly, but I didn't know what else to do." Wright was already grabbing his jacket. "Stay on the line. Where are you exactly? What room?" "The blue sitting room, second floor." "Is the Queen Consort with you right now?" "No." She stepped out to take a call. That's why I could call you. Charlotte, listen carefully. I'm going to contact Commander Wells. He'll send... No. Panic crept into her voice. She'll know I called someone. She'll know I told. Please just... Can you just come? Tell them you forgot to give me something, or make up a reason. Please. Every regulation said no. Every instinct said yes. I'm coming, Wright said. Stay where you are. If she comes back, just act normal. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up and immediately called Wells. Sir, I need to go to Clarence's house. Princess Charlotte called me. She's asking to be brought home. She what? She used her personal phone to call me directly. She says Queen Camilla won't let her leave. Wells was quiet for 3 seconds. Right. Do you understand how serious an accusation that is? I'm not accusing anyone of anything, sir. I'm telling you, a 9-year-old royal called me crying and asking to come home. We need to respond. Another pause. Then, I'll send her a signed PPO. With respect, sir, she specifically asked for me. This isn't how protocol works, Sergeant. Then, respectfully, sir, protocol is failing that little girl. Silence. 15 minutes, Wells finally said. You're there as backup only. Harris will handle extraction. And Wright, if this turns out to be nothing, we're going to have a very long conversation about boundaries. Understood, sir. Wright drove faster than he should have. Arrived at Clarence's house in 12 minutes. Harris was already there, a senior protection officer with 20 years' experience. Wells briefed me, Harris said as they walked in together. Let me do the talking. They were escorted upstairs by Camilla's staff. The blue sitting room door was closed. Harris knocked. Your Majesty, Officer Harris, I'm here to collect Princess Charlotte. The door opened. Camilla stood there, composed and smiling. Is there a problem? Not at all, ma'am. Princess Catherine requested Charlotte return for dinner. How strange. She told me Charlotte could stay through the evening. Camilla's tone stayed pleasant, but Wright saw the calculation behind her eyes. I'll just call Catherine to confirm. Of course, ma'am. Behind Camilla, Wright could see Charlotte sitting on a sofa. Her face was pale. Her school uniform rumpled. She looked exhausted. Camilla made the call. Wright heard Kate's voice. On the other end, clear confusion. No, she hadn't requested Charlotte come home early. Yes, Charlotte was welcome to stay for dinner if she wanted. Camilla smiled at Harris. As I thought, simple miscommunication. Nevertheless, Harris said smoothly, if it's all the same, we'll take her back now. Protocol adjustment. Camilla's smile froze, just for a second. Of course. Charlotte, darling, get your things. Charlotte stood immediately, grabbed her school bag, moved toward the door like she was afraid someone would change their mind. As they walked to the car, Wright stayed close to Charlotte. She didn't look at him, didn't say anything, just clutched her bag and climbed into the back seat. Harris drove. Wright sat next to Charlotte. She stared out the window, hands tight around her bag straps. Thank you, she whispered. So quiet Harris wouldn't hear. Wright wanted to ask what happened, wanted to ask why she was so afraid, but training held him back. Instead, he just said, You did the right thing, calling for help. Charlotte's eyes filled with tears. She didn't let fall. No one believes me when I try to tell them. Tell them what? She looked at him. That she's not nice when no one's watching. Before Wright could respond, they arrived at Kensington Palace. Kate was waiting at the entrance, worry written across her face. Charlotte ran to her mother. Kate wrapped her arms around her daughter, confused but protective. What happened? Kate asked Harris. The Queen Consort invited her for tea, ma'am. Princess Charlotte called when she was ready to come home. Kate looked down at Charlotte. Why didn't you just ask grandmother to bring you back? Charlotte said nothing, just held on to her mother tighter. Wright watched the reunion from a professional distance. He should have felt relieved. Mission accomplished. Child returned safely. Instead, he felt like he'd just put a bandage on something that needed surgery. That night, Wright couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about Charlotte's face, about the phone she'd hidden in that storage closet, about her hand checking her pocket, about what she'd said. No one believes me when I try to tell them. At 2 in the morning, Wright made a decision that would change everything. The next day was his day off. He spent the morning reviewing palace protocol, security procedures, chain of command regulations, looking for something, a justification, a loophole. He found nothing. What he was thinking about doing violated every rule in the book. But Charlotte's voice kept echoing in his head. I didn't know who else to call. At noon, Wright drove back to Kensington Palace. Not on duty, not on any schedule. Just a guard with a sick feeling in his stomach and a hunch that wouldn't let go. He used his security clearance to access the staff areas, walked the corridors like he belonged there. Because technically, he did. He found the storage closet, the same one, C7. Mrs. Patterson was at lunch. The corridor was empty. Wright shouldn't have had a key, but he did. Master access for senior protection officers. He'd been promoted 3 months ago. The lock clicked. The door swung open. Wright stepped inside and closed the door behind him. The closet looked exactly the same. Shelves, boxes, supplies, nothing unusual. He moved to the corner where Charlotte had retrieved her phone, knelt down, looked behind the boxes. Nothing. He was about to leave when he noticed something. A small piece of paper, wedged between 2 boxes, folded once. Wright pulled it out. Charlotte's handwriting, neat, careful. If you're reading this, please listen to the recordings. They're on the old phone. I hide it here because it's the only place she doesn't look. Please. Someone needs to know what she says to me when we're alone. See. Wright's hands started shaking. He searched behind the boxes again, more carefully this time. His fingers found something small and hard, tucked into a gap between the wall and the shelf. A phone, the same one Charlotte had retrieved 2 days ago, except she must have put it back, hidden it again, because she knew she might need someone to find it. Wright pulled out the phone. The screen was cracked, but it powered on. No password. Voice memo app. 7 recordings. The oldest dated 3 weeks ago. Wright sat on the floor of that storage closet, heart pounding, and pressed play on the first file. November 3rd, 4:15 p.m. Camilla's voice came first. Composed, pleasant. Charlotte, darling, we need to talk about your behavior at the luncheon today. Charlotte's response, quieter. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just... You were showing off, trying to get attention. No, Don't contradict me. The pleasantness vanished. You embarrassed your father. You embarrassed me. Do you understand? A pause. Then Charlotte's small voice. Yes, grandmother. Good. Now, this stays between us. Your parents have enough to worry about without you adding to their stress. Do you understand that too? Yes, grandmother. Wright remembered that luncheon. He'd been there. Charlotte had simply asked a question about the charity they were visiting. A perfectly normal question. Nothing embarrassing about it. He played the next recording. November 7th, 8:30 a.m. Different location, same cold tone. Charlotte, I've spoken to your mother about your schedule. You'll be spending more time with me from now on. But Mummy said, I don't care what Catherine said. I'm your grandmother. I have every right to spend time with you. I know, but no buts. Unless you'd like me to tell your father how difficult you're being? Silence. Then, no, grandmother. That's better. Wright's jaw clenched. The third recording was worse. November 12th, 5 p.m. Charlotte's voice first this time, shaking. This is Princess Charlotte. I'm making this recording because Because I need someone to believe me. Grandmother says things when we're alone. Mean things. She tells me I'm difficult, that I embarrass the family, that I should be grateful she's trying to help me. But it doesn't feel like help. It feels like she wants me to feel small. A pause. Then Charlotte continued stronger. Mummy taught me that if someone makes you feel scared, you should tell the truth. Even if they tell you not to. Even if they say no one will believe you. So this is me telling the truth. Just in case. Wright stopped the recording. His hands were shaking. Not from fear. From rage. He'd served 7 years protecting royals. He'd taken bullets in combat zones. He'd faced down threats most people only saw in movies. But this? A grandmother systematically breaking down a child's confidence, isolating her, making her afraid to speak. This was different. This was evil dressed in pearls and a smile. Wright stood, pocketed the phone, closed the closet door behind him. He had evidence now, real evidence. Charlotte's own voice, documenting a pattern of emotional abuse. His training said, take it to Commander Wells, follow the chain, let the system handle it. His gut said the system had already failed Charlotte once. He needed to go higher. Wright played the 4th recording as he walked to his car. He needed to hear them all before he decided what to do next. November 14th, 3 p.m. A different setting. Background noise suggested they were in a car. Camilla's voice. Stop fidgeting, Charlotte. You're representing the crown. Sorry, grandmother. And stop apologizing. It makes you look weak. A pause. Your mother lets you get away with too much. Someone needs to teach you proper discipline. Mummy's not. Don't defend her to me. Catherine may be Princess of Wales, but she's still. Camilla stopped herself. Never mind. Just sit properly and keep quiet. The recording ended. Wright sat in his car, staring at the phone. 5 recordings total, each one worse than the last. Each one showing a pattern. Camilla isolating Charlotte, undermining Kate, making the child feel like she was always doing something wrong. He played the 5th one. November 18th, evening. Charlotte's voice recording herself. It happened again today. She told me I was being dramatic when I said my stomach hurt. She said I was just trying to get out of our tea time. But it really did hurt. I think because I was nervous. She makes me nervous. But when I told Mummy later, Grandmother had already said I was fine, so Mummy thought I was just tired. I don't know how to make anyone understand. She's so nice to me when other people are around. Then, when we're alone, everything I do is wrong. The child's voice cracked. She was trying not to cry. I don't want to be alone with her anymore. But I don't know how to say that, without sounding ungrateful. Grandmother keeps saying how lucky I am, that she wants to spend time with me, that other grandmothers don't care as much, so I should be thankful. But I'm not. Is that bad? Does that make me a bad person? The recording ended. Wright closed his eyes, took a breath. Charlotte wasn't just documenting abuse. She was documenting the psychological warfare that came with it. The gaslighting, the guilt, the confusion about whether she was the problem. At 9 years old, he started the car and drove straight to Commander Wells's office. Wells looked up from his desk when Wright entered. You're not on shift today? No, sir. Wright closed the door behind him. But I need to speak with you. About Princess Charlotte. Wells's expression shifted. Right, we talked about this. The situation at Clarence House was resolved. It wasn't resolved, sir. It was interrupted. Wright pulled out the phone. I found this. Charlotte hid it in storage closet C7. There are recordings on it. 5 of them. You need to hear what's on here. You found what? Wells stood. You went searching through palace storage? Charlotte left a note, sir, asking, whoever found the phone to listen to the recordings. She's been documenting her interactions with Queen Camilla. Wells went very still. Let me see that note. Wright handed it over. Wells read it twice. Where did you find this phone? In the storage closet where Charlotte retrieved it 2 days ago. She must have hidden it again after I helped her get it back. And you listened to these recordings without authorization? Yes, sir. Do you understand? Wells stopped, took a breath. Right. Do you have any idea what you're accusing the Queen Consort of? I'm not accusing anyone of anything, sir. Charlotte is. I'm just reporting evidence. Wells sat down heavily. Play one of them. Wright selected the third recording, Charlotte's explanation of why she was making them. He watched Wells's face as the child's voice filled the small office. When it ended, Wells was quiet for a long moment. Play another one. Wright played the fourth recording. The car conversation. Wells' jaw tightened. How many are there? 5 total. Each one shows the same pattern. Camilla being cold, controlling, undermining the Princess of Wales, making Charlotte feel like she's always wrong. This is, Wells rubbed his face, this is a nightmare. Sir, with respect, it's been a nightmare for Charlotte for at least 3 weeks, probably longer. Wells looked at the phone like it might explode. We need to handle this carefully, very carefully. If this gets out, a child is being emotionally abused by the Queen Consort, Wright interrupted. How we handle it publicly comes second to stopping it. Don't lecture me about priorities, Sergeant. Wells's voice hardened. I know what's at stake here, but this isn't just about Charlotte. This impacts the entire royal family, the monarchy itself. Then the monarchy has a problem. The two men stared at each other. Wells broke first. I need to take this to the Director of Royal Protection. He'll decide next steps. How long will that take? As long as it takes. Wells reached for the phone. Give it to me. I'll make sure it gets to the right people. Wright hesitated. That's an order, Sergeant. Wright handed over the phone. Charlotte trusted someone would find this and do something about it. If it gets buried, it won't get buried, Wells said. But he didn't meet Wright's eyes. You're dismissed. And Wright, don't discuss this with anyone. That's not a request. Wright left the office, feeling like he'd just made a terrible mistake. 3 hours later, his phone rang. Unknown number. Sergeant Wright, this is David Lancaster, Director of Royal Protection. I need you to come to my office. Now. Lancaster's office was in a different building. More formal, more isolated. Wright had only been there once before, during his initial security clearance. Lancaster was in his 60s, former military, career royal protection. He'd served 3 monarchs. His face gave nothing away. Sit down, Sergeant. Wright sat. Lancaster placed Charlotte's phone on the desk between them. Commander Wells briefed me. I've listened to all 5 recordings. And I need you to explain to me why you thought it was appropriate to conduct an unauthorized search of palace property and confiscate what amounts to private communications of a royal family member. Wright's stomach dropped. Sir, Charlotte left a note specifically asking, Charlotte is 9 years old. She doesn't get to authorize security personnel to invade the Queen Consort's privacy. Camilla's privacy? Wright couldn't keep the disbelief out of his voice. Sir, did you listen to those recordings? Charlotte is documenting emotional abuse. Charlotte is documenting private family conversations that she interpreted through a child's perspective. Lancaster's tone stayed level. The Queen Consort is her grandmother. Grandparents discipline grandchildren. That's not abuse, Sergeant. That's family dynamics. Wright felt cold. With respect, sir, that's not what this is. You're not qualified to make that determination. Then who is? Because Charlotte made these recordings for a reason. She's asking for help. She's a confused child dealing with a complicated family situation. Lancaster leaned forward. Let me be very clear, Sergeant. The Queen Consort is second in line to the throne after King Charles. She is beyond reproach. Accusations like this, based on secretly recorded conversations taken out of context, could cause irreparable damage. What about the damage being done to Charlotte? Princess Charlotte is surrounded by people who love her and protect her, including her grandmother. If there are tensions, that's for her parents to address privately. Wright stared at the man across from him. You're not going to do anything. I'm going to file a report noting your concerns and forward it to the appropriate channels. Which means burying it. Lancaster's expression hardened. Which means following proper procedure, unlike you. He picked up the phone. This is evidence of nothing except a breach of protocol on your part. I should have you suspended for this. Then suspend me, but give that phone to Prince William first. Prince William is not your concern. His daughter is. Prince William has more important responsibilities than mediating family disagreements. Lancaster stood. You're relieved of Charlotte's protection detail, effective immediately. Return to general rotation. Wright stood too. Sir, please, just listen to the recordings again. Listen to Charlotte's voice when she's alone. She's scared. She's 9. Children get scared. That doesn't mean... She called me from Clarence's house, begging to come home. She hides a phone in a storage closet because she doesn't feel safe. That's not normal family tension. Lancaster was quiet for a moment. Then, even if everything you're saying is true, and I'm not conceding that it is, what exactly do you expect me to do? Accuse the Queen Consort of abusing her granddaughter based on recordings made without her knowledge or consent. Start an investigation that would leak to the press within 24 hours. Tear apart the royal family during an already difficult time. I expect you to protect a child who's asking for protection. My job is to protect the crown, Sergeant. Sometimes that means making hard choices about what battles to fight and when to fight them. Lancaster sat back down. This conversation is over. You're dismissed. Wright didn't move. What happens to the phone? It stays with me. Secured. If Princess Charlotte's parents raise concerns through proper channels, this evidence will be available. Until then, it remains confidential. And if they don't raise concerns because Charlotte's too afraid to tell them what's really happening, then there's nothing to investigate. Lancaster's tone went ice cold. Are we clear, Sergeant? They weren't clear. Nothing about this was clear, but Wright knew when he'd lost. Yes, sir. He left Lancaster's office feeling like he'd just abandoned Charlotte to the same silence that had forced her to make those recordings in the first place. Wright went home, sat in his apartment, stared at the wall. Everything had been handled through proper channels. He'd followed protocol, mostly. He'd reported the evidence to his superior. It had moved up the chain to the director and died there. Because protecting the crown mattered more than protecting one scared child. His phone buzzed. Text from Commander Wells. Stand down. This is handled. That's an order. Wright threw his phone across the room. He'd served his country for years. Multiple deployments. Countless missions. He'd followed orders even when they didn't make sense because that's what soldiers did. But this wasn't following orders. This was being complicit. Charlotte's voice echoed in his head. I need someone to believe me. Someone had to believe her. Someone had to act. Wright picked up his phone, scrolled through his contacts, stopped at one name, Captain Eleanor Marsh, Royal Communications. They'd worked together on security briefings. She was smart, careful, and, more importantly, she had access to senior royal staff. He called her. Right, it's late. I know, I need a favor, a big one. What kind of favor? The kind that could get both of us fired. Silence. Then, I'm listening. Wright told her everything, the recordings, Lancaster's dismissal. The phone locked away where it would never reach the people who needed to hear it. When he finished, Marsh was quiet for a long time. You're asking me to go over the director's head. I'm asking you to make sure Prince William knows his daughter has been asking for help and no one's listening. If I do this, my career is over. If we don't do this, Charlotte stays alone with someone who's hurting her. Another long pause. I can't get the actual phone. Lancaster will have it locked down, tight. But if you remember enough of what was on those recordings to give me specifics, dates, times, what was said, I can brief the Prince of Wales's private secretary. It's his job to decide what information reaches William. And if he buries it too, then we're out of options. Marsh took a breath. Meet me tomorrow, early, before shift changes. Bring everything you remember. They met at 6 a.m. in a coffee shop 3 blocks from the palace. Marsh brought a notepad. Wright brought his memory of every word on those recordings. He recited them, all 5, every exchange he could remember, every inflection in Charlotte's voice when she recorded herself, every cold dismissal from Camilla. Marsh wrote it all down. She stopped, started again. This is going to explode when it reaches William. Good. You understand what you're setting in motion? I understand that a little girl asked for help, and everyone above me decided protocol mattered more than protecting her. Marsh closed her notepad. I'll get this to the private secretary today. What happens after that is out of our hands. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We might both be unemployed by tomorrow. What he discovered next changed everything. But first, if you're enjoying this story, drop a like and let us know in the comments. Would you have had the courage to report this? Now, here's what happened when the evidence reached William. Marsh was good at her job. By noon, Wright's written account of the recordings was sitting on the desk of James Hartley, Prince William's private secretary. Hartley had served William for 6 years. He knew when something needed immediate attention. This needed immediate attention. He called Marsh to verify the source. Then, he called Commander Wells to confirm the phone existed. Wells, trapped between Lancaster's orders and a direct inquiry from the Prince of Wales's office, admitted everything. At 2 p.m., Hartley knocked on William's office door. Sir, I need to speak with you about Princess Charlotte. William looked up from the briefing papers he was reviewing. What about her? It's sensitive, sir. Very sensitive. William set down his pen. Close the door. Hartley closed the door, sat down, placed Wright's written account on William's desk. One of royal protection found evidence that Princess Charlotte has been struggling with her relationship with the Queen Consort. William's expression shifted immediately. What kind of evidence? Audio recordings, sir. Charlotte made them herself. 5 separate recordings over 3 weeks. The sergeant who found them reported them to his superiors. The director of royal protection has the phone secured, but I've obtained a detailed account of what's on the recordings. William picked up the papers, started reading. Hartley watched his face change as he processed each line. The professional composure giving way to something darker, something protective and furious. Where is this phone? William's voice was too quiet. With Director Lancaster, sir. Get it. Now. Sir, he may resist releasing. I don't care if he carves it in stone and throws it in the Thames. That's my daughter's voice documenting someone hurting her. Get it. Now. Hartley pulled out his phone, made the call. Lancaster answered on the second ring. Hartley, the Prince of Wales is requesting immediate access to the phone containing Princess Charlotte's recordings. A pause. I need to discuss protocols first. This is sensitive material. William took Hartley's phone. Lancaster, this is William. Bring me that phone in the next 30 minutes, or I'll have security escort you here and retrieve it myself. Are we clear? Sir, with respect, this is a matter of 30 minutes, starting now. William ended the call. Hartley had never seen the prince this angry, not in 6 years. William was known for his composure, his diplomatic restraint. This was different. This was a father. 27 minutes later, Lancaster arrived with the phone. He looked like a man walking to his own execution. William didn't invite him to sit. The phone. Lancaster placed it on the desk. Sir, Before you listen to these, I think it's important to contextualize. Leave. Sir, leave my office. Now. Lancaster left. William stared at the phone for a long moment. Then he looked at Hartley. Stay. I want a witness. He pressed play on the first recording. Hartley watched William's face as Camilla's voice filled the office. Pleasant at first, then cold, then cutting. Charlotte's small voice responding, apologizing, trying to be good enough. William's jaw clenched tighter with each exchange. The second recording played. The third. The fourth. When Charlotte's voice came on explaining why she was making the recordings. I need someone to believe me. William's hand gripped the edge of his desk. The fifth recording played. Charlotte's voice breaking. I don't want to be alone with her anymore. Silence after it ended. William stood, walked to the window, stared out at the palace grounds. When he spoke, his voice was steel. Call Kate. Tell her to bring Charlotte here immediately. Private entrance. No staff. Yes, sir. Then call security. I want a complete list of every time Charlotte has been alone with Camilla in the past month. Sir, every time, Hartley. Dates, locations, duration, and find out where Camilla is right now. She's in the Queen's apartments. She has a dinner engagement at 7. William checked his watch. 4:30. Cancel her dinner. Tell her I need to speak with her. Don't tell her why. And Hartley, sir, seal the palace. No one leaves until I say otherwise. Hartley went very still. Sir, that's unprecedented. My daughter has been documenting emotional abuse for 3 weeks, and no one told me. Unprecedented seems appropriate. William turned from the window. I want every entrance secured in the next 10 minutes. Main, gates, service entrances, staff access, everything. Someone knew this was happening and buried it. I want to know who and why. And until I have answers, no one leaves. I'll need to coordinate with Royal Protection. Then coordinate, but make it happen. Hartley pulled out his phone and started making calls. William picked up the small phone again, held it like it contained something precious and dangerous. His daughter's voice, asking for help, documenting her fear because she thought no one would believe her. She was right. No one had believed her, until now. The order went out at 4:32 p.m. Commander Wells received it first, direct from the Prince of Wales. His hands shook slightly as he read the message. Initiate security protocol, Charlie 7. Seal all palace exits. Authorization, Prince William. Effective immediately. Wells had been in royal protection for 23 years. He'd never seen Charlie 7 activated outside of drills. It meant complete lockdown. No exceptions. He picked up his radio. All units, this is Wells. Execute Charlie 7. I repeat, execute Charlie 7. This is not a drill. Across the palace grounds, guards moved into position. At the main gates, Sergeant Davies received the order while checking credentials on a departing vehicle. A black sedan, diplomatic plates. Junior Minister heading home after a meeting. Sir, I need you to pull forward and park. We're entering security protocols. The driver frowned. I'm expected at Westminster in 30 minutes. I understand, sir. Please pull forward. The gates began closing. Heavy iron, smooth and silent. Within 90 seconds, they were sealed. The minister stepped out of his car. What's going on? Standard security procedure, sir. We'll have you on your way as soon as possible. How long? Davies had no idea. I'll update you as soon as I know more. 3 more vehicles were already waiting. Staff members, delivery drivers, a catering company finishing an event, setup. All stopped. All held. Meanwhile, at the service entrance on the palace's east side, Officer Chen was dealing with kitchen staff. We finished our shift 20 minutes ago, one of the cooks protested. I've got to pick up my daughter from school. I understand, ma'am, but we're in lockdown protocols. No one leaves until clearance is given. Lockdown? Why? What happened? I can't discuss operational details. Chen kept her voice professional, but firm. Please return to the staff common area. We'll provide updates as they become available. 15 staff members, confused, some annoyed, all stuck. Inside the palace corridors, guards took positions at key transition points. Internal movement wasn't restricted yet, but every exit to the outside was sealed tight. Officer Marcus stood at the West Corridor checkpoint. His radio crackled. Status? West Corridor secure. All exits sealed. Copy that. Palace staff moved through the hallways, whispering. Speculation spread like wildfire. I heard there's a security threat. Someone said it's a drill. Drills don't lock down the whole palace. Maybe it's terrorism? None of them knew the truth. That somewhere in those same corridors, a 9-year-old princess had documented weeks of emotional warfare, and her father had just decided enough was enough. In William's office, Kate arrived within 15 minutes. She came through the private entrance as requested, holding Charlotte's hand. Charlotte looked confused, but not scared. Not yet. William met them at the door. He hugged Kate briefly, then knelt in front of his daughter. Hi, sweetheart. Hi, Papa. Charlotte's voice was small. Mummy said you wanted to see me. I do. Come sit with me for a minute. He guided her to the small sofa in the corner of his office. Kate sat beside her, hand on Charlotte's shoulder. Hartley stood by the door. William had asked him to stay, witness to whatever came next. William pulled a chair close to the sofa, close enough to be eye level with Charlotte. He kept his voice gentle. Charlotte, I need to ask you about something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. All right? You're not in trouble. Nothing you tell me will get you in trouble. Charlotte's eyes went wide, that careful expression settling over her face. Okay. Do you remember hiding a phone in a storage closet? Charlotte went very still. Her hand moved to her pocket, that same nervous gesture, before she caught herself. She looked at her mother, then back to William. Yes. Why did you hide it there? Because, Charlotte's voice dropped to almost a whisper, because I needed to keep it safe, where no one would find it unless I wanted them to. And you made some recordings on that phone, is that right? Tears filled Charlotte's eyes. She nodded. Kate's grip on her daughter's shoulder tightened. She looked at William with growing alarm. What recordings? William kept his focus on Charlotte. Can you tell me why you made those recordings? Charlotte's lip trembled. Am I in trouble? No, sweetheart. Absolutely not. But I need to understand. Why did you feel like you needed to record conversations? Because... A tear slipped down her cheek. Because when I tried to tell people what grandmother says to me when we're alone, no one believed me. She's so nice when other people are around. But when it's just us, she's different. And I didn't know how to make anyone understand without proof. Kate made a sound, something between a gasp and a cry. Charlotte, what are you talking about? Charlotte turned to her mother. I tried to tell you. Remember when I said I didn't want to have tea with grandmother anymore? You said I was just tired. And when I said she made me feel bad, you said she was probably just having a difficult day and I should be patient. Oh, God. Kate pulled Charlotte into her arms. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have listened better. William's chest felt tight. He'd seen the signs too. Charlotte's quiet behavior, her reluctance when Camilla approached. He'd dismissed it as childhood moods. They'd both failed her. Charlotte, William said gently, the recordings you made, they're real? Everything on them actually happened? Charlotte pulled back from Kate enough to look at him. Yes, Papa. Everyone. I marked the dates so someone would know I wasn't making it up. Did grandmother know you were recording? No. I kept the phone hidden in my pocket. Charlotte wiped her eyes. I know I wasn't supposed to, but I didn't know what else to do. She kept saying I was dramatic, that I exaggerated things, that I should be grateful she wanted to spend time with me when other grandmothers didn't care as much. And I started to think maybe she was right. Maybe I was the problem. William felt something break inside his chest. His 9-year-old daughter had been gaslit so thoroughly that she'd started to doubt her own reality, had felt so alone that she'd resorted to secretly documenting abuse just to prove to herself and everyone else that it was real. He reached out and took both of Charlotte's hands in his. You listen to me very carefully. You are not the problem. You have never been the problem. What grandmother said to you, the way she made you feel, that was wrong. None of it was your fault. Do you understand me? Charlotte nodded, tears streaming now. And you were incredibly brave to make those recordings. You did exactly the right thing. But no one found them, Charlotte said. I left the note, but I thought maybe no one would ever look. Sergeant Wright found them. He gave them to me. And because of you, because you were brave enough to document what was happening, we can make sure it never happens again. Charlotte threw her arms around William's neck, sobbed into his shoulder. William held his daughter, while Kate cried quietly beside them. Hartley looked away, giving them privacy in a moment that wasn't meant for witnesses. After a few minutes, Charlotte pulled back. Is grandmother going to be angry with me? Grandmother's feelings are not your concern, William said firmly. You are safe, you are believed, and you will never be alone with her again. I promise you that. Really? Really? Charlotte sagged with visible relief, like she'd been holding her breath for weeks and could finally exhale. Kate pulled her close again. I'm so sorry I didn't see it sooner. I should have known. It's okay, Mummy. She was really good at hiding it. That doesn't make it okay? Kate looked at William. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steel. Where is she now? Being summoned to my office. William checked his watch. 4:57. Charlotte, I need you to go with Hartley. He's going to take you to the private quarters. Stay there with Mummy until I come for you. Are you going to talk to grandmother? Yes. Are you going to play the recordings for her? William hesitated. Then, yes, Charlotte nodded. Good. I want her to know that I wasn't lying, that it really happened. William kissed his daughter's forehead. It really happened, and everyone is going to know that now. Kate took Charlotte's hand. Hartley escorted them out through the private door. William stood alone in his office. He picked up the phone again, scrolled through the recordings, listened to 30 seconds of the fourth one. Camilla's voice telling Charlotte she was being dramatic, that she was embarrassing the family. He stopped at the playback. His hands were shaking with rage. 5 minutes later, his office phone rang. Sir, the Queen Consort is here. Send her in. Camilla entered, looking confused and slightly annoyed. William, what's this about? I had dinner plans. Sit down. The tone stopped her. She'd heard William upset before, frustrated with media, angry about breaches of privacy. This was different. This was cold fury, barely contained. She sat. William remained standing. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to think very carefully before you answer. All right. Have you been spending time alone with Charlotte over the past few weeks? Camilla's expression shifted. Just slightly. Of course, she's my granddaughter. We have tea occasionally. Why? How would you characterize those interactions? Pleasant? Educational? I'm trying to teach her proper deportment, the responsibilities that come with her position. Camilla's tone stayed measured. Is there a problem? William placed the phone on his desk between them. Charlotte made recordings during your time together, 5 of them. Would you like to hear what's on them? All the colour drained from Camilla's face. That's... She stopped, regrouped. If Charlotte made recordings without my knowledge, that's a serious breach of. Charlotte is 9 years old and was documenting evidence because she felt unsafe. That's not a breach of privacy. That's a cry for help. Unsafe? That's absurd. I've never. Let me play one for you. William pressed play on the third recording. Charlotte's voice, explaining why she was making them. Grandmother says things when we're alone. Mean things. She tells me I'm difficult, that I embarrass the family. Camilla's hand went to her necklace. That's taken completely out of context. William stopped the recording. All 5 of them are out of context. I was trying to teach her discipline, structure. Kate lets her run wild. Don't. William's voice dropped. Don't make this about Kate. We're approaching the moment that shocked everyone who witnessed it. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. We share stories like this, daily. Here's what happened when William confronted the truth. Charlotte is a child, Camilla said, voice rising. A spoiled child who didn't appreciate someone trying to help her grow up properly. Help her? William stepped closer to the desk. You isolated her. You undermined her mother. You made her feel like everything she did was wrong. You gaslit a 9-year-old until she started recording evidence, just to prove to herself she wasn't imagining things. I did no such thing. Shall I play more of the recordings? Would you like to hear yourself telling her that her parents have too much to worry about without her adding to their stress? Or the part where you said she was being dramatic when she told you she felt sick? Camilla stood. I won't sit here and be accused. Sit down. The command froze her. William had never spoken to her like this. Never used the full weight of his authority as heir to the throne. Camilla sat. You're going to listen to every one of these recordings, William said, and then you're going to explain to me why my daughter felt so unsafe with you that she hid a phone in a storage closet and begged a guard to help her. She called a guard? Camilla's composure slipped. That's completely inappropriate. What's inappropriate is a grandmother systematically breaking down a child's confidence over 3 weeks while smiling for cameras. You're overreacting. This is family business that should be handled privately. This stopped being private family business the moment my daughter started documenting abuse. William picked up the phone. Would you like me to play the recording where you told her she should be grateful you wanted to spend time with her? Or the one where you said Catherine doesn't understand proper royal protocol? Camilla's face flushed. Those conversations were private. Those conversations were psychological manipulation. William set the phone down carefully. Like if he didn't, he might throw it. Here's what's going to happen. You will have no unsupervised contact with Charlotte. Ever. You will not call her. You will not request time with her. If you see her at public events, you will be polite and distant. Nothing more. You can't dictate my relationship with my granddaughter. I can and I am. Charlotte is my daughter. Her safety is my responsibility, and you have proven you cannot be trusted with her. Charles will never allow this. Charles will absolutely allow this when he hears these recordings. Camilla stood again. This is ridiculous. I was trying to help her. Everything I said was for her own good. Everything you said was cruel. William's voice stayed level, but the fury beneath it was unmistakable. You made a child feel small because it made you feel powerful. That's not discipline. That's not structure. That's abuse. How dare you? How dare you? William moved around the desk. Charlotte is 9 years old. She's kind and smart and brave. And you tried to break that because... He stopped. Actually, I don't care why. I don't care what your justifications are. The result is the same. My daughter was afraid of you, and now she never has to be again. Camilla's hands shook. If you think you can ban me from... I already have. Palace security has been instructed. You will not have access to any of my children without Kate or myself present. Those restrictions are effective immediately, and non-negotiable. This is insane. Over some misinterpreted conversations, 5 recordings, 3 weeks of documented evidence. Charlotte's own voice explaining why she felt unsafe. William gestured to the phone. That's not misinterpretation. That's a pattern. Camilla grabbed her purse. I won't stand here and listen to this. I'm leaving. No, you're not. She turned. Excuse me? The palace is in lockdown. No one leaves until I authorize it. That includes you. You locked down the entire palace because of this? I locked down the entire palace because someone in royal protection knew about these recordings and buried them. Until I know who and why, no one leaves. Camilla's eyes widened. You can't be serious. Completely serious. William opened his office door. 2 guards stood outside. Please escort the Queen Consort to the Queen's apartments. She's not to leave without my authorization. Sir, Camilla started, we're done here. If you attempt to contact Charlotte in any way, I will make these recordings public. Do you understand? Camilla stared at him. For the first time, she seemed to realize he wasn't bluffing. You would destroy me over this. I would destroy anyone who hurt my children. You're not special in that regard. The guards waited. Camilla had no choice. She walked out with whatever dignity she could muster. The door closed behind her. William sat down heavily. His hands were still shaking. Hartley appeared from the adjoining room where he'd been listening. Sir, that was necessary. I was going to say restrained. I wouldn't have been. William allowed himself a grim smile. I wanted to say more, much more. What happens now? Now we find out who knew about these recordings and decided Charlotte's safety mattered less than palace politics. Hartley pulled out his tablet. I've been compiling a timeline. The sergeant who found the phone, Thomas Wright, reported it to Commander Wells yesterday at 1400 hours. Wells took it to Director Lancaster by 1600. Lancaster had the phone in his possession for approximately 20 hours before Wright bypassed the chain of command through Captain Marsh. Lancaster sat on evidence of child abuse for almost a full day. Technically, he filed a report noting the concern. A report no one would ever see. William stood. Get me Lancaster and Wells. I want them both here in 30 minutes. Sir, should we involve legal counsel? If you're considering disciplinary action, I'm not considering it. I'm guaranteeing it. William looked out the window. Dusk was settling over the palace grounds. Somewhere out there, staff and visitors were trapped by the lockdown, confused and frustrated. Good. Let them be frustrated. His daughter had been trapped in a pattern of abuse for weeks. Frustrated seemed like a fair trade. And Hartley, call the King's office. Request a meeting tomorrow morning. He needs to hear these recordings. I'll arrange it. Oh, and lift the lockdown. Everyone except Lancaster and Wells. They stay until I'm done with them. Hartley made the call. Within minutes, the order went out. At the main gates, Sergeant Davies received the message with relief. Lockdown lifted. Resume normal operations. The gates opened. The diplomatic sedan drove away, Minister muttering about palace inefficiency. Staff members filed out of the service entrance, still whispering about what had happened. Inside, only 2 people remained detained. Director Lancaster and Commander Wells arrived at William's office together. Both looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. William didn't offer them seats. Tell me why a 9-year-old princess had to hide recordings in a storage closet. Because the people whose job is to protect her decided palace politics mattered more than her safety. Lancaster spoke. First, sir, with all due respect, I have no respect for you right now, so let's skip that part. Tell me why you buried evidence. I didn't bury anything. I filed a proper report. To who? Who reads these reports? Lancaster hesitated. They're reviewed by senior staff on a quarterly basis. Quarterly. William let the word hang. My daughter documents abuse, and you file a report that gets reviewed in 3 months. Meanwhile, she continues having tea with her abuser every week because no one bothered to tell her parents. Wells stepped forward. Sir, I take full responsibility. I should have pushed harder. You should have come directly to me the moment you heard those recordings. William's voice was ice. Both of you. Instead, you decided protecting the Queen Consort's reputation was more important than protecting Charlotte. That's not what happened, Lancaster insisted. I made a judgment call. The recordings were ambiguous. They showed family tension, not. They showed a grandmother telling a child she was difficult, embarrassing, and dramatic. They showed isolation tactics. They showed emotional manipulation. What part of that is ambiguous? Sir, the Queen Consort is second in line to the throne, and Charlotte is my daughter. She wins, every time, without question. Lancaster and Wells stood silent. Here's what's going to happen, William continued. You're both suspended pending a full investigation. I want every decision documented, every conversation, everyone who knew about these recordings, and if I find out anyone else sat on this information, they're finished. Sir, please, Wells started. You had a chance to do the right thing, Commander. You chose protocol over protecting a child. Now you face the consequences. What about Sergeant Wright? Wells asked quietly. He violated multiple regulations to get you that phone. Sergeant Wright is the only person in this entire chain who understood that. Sometimes doing the right thing means breaking the rules. William pulled out his phone. I'm recommending him for commendation. The rest of you can answer to a disciplinary board. Lancaster's face went red. This is dismissed, both of you. Leave your credentials with security on your way out. They left. William stood alone in his office for the second time that evening. Outside, the palace had returned to normal operations. Staff going home, visitors departing, business as usual. But inside, everything had changed. Charlotte's recordings were no longer buried evidence. They were documented proof, undeniable truth. And the people who'd tried to hide that truth were being held accountable. William picked up the small phone one more time, looked at the 5 recording files, his daughter's voice, asking to be believed. Finally, she was. The hidden proof. Final section. The next morning, William arrived at Buckingham Palace at 8 a.m. sharp. King Charles was already waiting, in his private study. Charles looked tired. He'd been briefed by Hartley late the previous night. Just the basics. Just enough to know this meeting wasn't going to be pleasant. Show me, Charles said, without preamble. William placed the phone on his father's desk. There are 5 recordings. Charlotte made them over 3 weeks. You need to hear all of them. Charles picked up the phone. His hands weren't quite steady. William watched his father's face as the recordings played. Watched the initial confusion become concern. Concern become anger. Anger become something harder to define. When the 3rd recording played, Charlotte explaining why she was documenting everything, Charles closed his eyes. Dear God. The 4th recording played. Camilla's voice, cold and cutting. Your mother lets you get away with too much. Someone needs to teach you proper discipline. Charles set down the phone. Stop. I've heard enough. There's one more. I said I've heard enough. Charles stood, walked to the window, stared out at the palace gardens. How long have you known? Since yesterday afternoon. The recordings were found 2 days ago, but buried by royal protection. Buried? Director Lancaster decided Charlotte's evidence wasn't worth reporting to me. He filed it away where no one would see it. Charles turned. He did what? He made a judgment call. Protecting Camilla's reputation mattered more than protecting Charlotte. Where is Lancaster now? Suspended, pending investigation, along with Commander Wells. Charles nodded slowly. Good. He sat down heavily. I need to hear the last recording. William played it, Charlotte's voice breaking with emotion. I don't want to be alone with her anymore, but I don't know how to say that without sounding ungrateful. When it ended, Charles was quiet for a long moment. She really said those things to Charlotte? All of it? All of it. Charlotte confirmed every recording is accurate. And we had no idea. Charlotte tried to tell us, both of us. Kate and I dismissed it as family tension, normal grandmother-granddaughter dynamics. William's voice hardened. We failed her. So did I. Charles rubbed his face. She seemed withdrawn lately. I thought she was just tired. Too many events. I told myself she needed rest, not intervention. She needed someone to believe her. And instead she had to create evidence to prove she wasn't lying. Charles looked at the phone, like it contained something poisonous. What have you done so far? Banned Camilla from unsupervised contact with any of the children. Suspended the people who buried the evidence. Made it clear to Camilla that if she violates the restrictions, I'll make the recordings public. Charles absorbed this. That's a strong position. It's the only position. Camilla will fight it. Let her. She'll lose. Charles stood again. Paced. This is going to create problems. Political problems. The Queen Consort can't be publicly restricted from her grandchildren without explanation. And we can't explain without exposing what she did. I know. So what do you propose? William had been thinking about this all night. We handle it quietly. Camilla's schedule gets adjusted. She's busy with other commitments. Charlotte's schedule doesn't align. Staff make sure they're never in the same room unsupervised. Publicly, nothing changes. Privately, everything does. And if the media asks questions, they won't. Not if we're careful. Royal families manage internal tensions privately all the time. Charles was quiet. Then, you're asking me to choose between my wife and my granddaughter. I'm telling you, my daughter documented abuse, and I won't expose her to it again. If that creates complications for Camilla, that's unfortunate. But Charlotte comes first. She does. Charles said it firmly. She absolutely does. He picked up the phone again, held it like it weighed more than it should. I need to speak with Camilla. About what? About the fact that I've heard these recordings, that I know what she did, and that there will be consequences. What kind of consequences? Charles met William's eyes. The kind that make it clear this behavior is unacceptable. At any level. Toward anyone. But especially toward a child. William nodded. Thank you. Don't thank me for doing what should have been done 3 weeks ago. Charles set down the phone. How is Charlotte? Relieved. Scared it might start again. Worried she got people in trouble. She got the right people in trouble. I told her that. But she's 9. She's still processing. Let me see her. Later today. I want to tell her myself that she did nothing wrong. She'd like that. Charles walked his son to the door, paused before opening it. William, when this is over, when the dust settles, I want a full review of child protection protocols. Not just for royals, for all palace staff families. If Charlotte fell through the cracks, other children might be too. I'll arrange it. And the sergeant who found the recordings. Wright, was it? Thomas Wright. Yes. Make sure he's properly recognized. Without him, Charlotte might still be hiding that phone and hoping someone would find it. Already done. Charles opened the door. Keep me updated. And William, you did well. As a father, Charlotte is lucky to have you. William left, feeling like he could breathe properly for the first time in 24 hours. The final moments of this story are unforgettable. Stay with us until the end. Now here's what happened next. That afternoon, Charles summoned Camilla to his study. She arrived composed but wary. She knew he'd been briefed, knew the recordings had reached him. Sit down, Camilla. She sat. Charles didn't waste time. I've heard the recordings. All of them. Camilla's jaw tightened. Charles, those conversations were private. Charlotte had no right. Charlotte is a child who documented evidence of mistreatment. She had every right. Mistreatment? Camilla's voice rose. I was trying to teach her proper behavior. Kate spoils her. Someone needed to make her feel safe, so not small. Charles's tone stayed level, but cold. You told her she was difficult, embarrassing, that she should be grateful you wanted to spend time with her. Those aren't teaching moments, Camilla. That's psychological manipulation. I heard your voice on 5 separate recordings, saying exactly those things. Charles leaned forward. I've known you for years. I've seen you charming, diplomatic, strategic. I've never seen you cruel, but that's what you were to Charlotte. Systematically cruel. Camilla went pale. You're taking the word of a 9-year-old over mine? I'm taking the word of recordings. Charlotte's voice, your voice, documented evidence. Evidence gathered without my consent, by a child who felt unsafe. Charles stood. Here's what's going to happen. You will have no contact with Charlotte unless William or Kate is present. You will not request private time with any of the children. You will attend public events as required, maintain appropriate distance, and never discuss this situation with anyone outside this room. You're restricting my access to my grandchildren over this? I'm protecting my grandchildren from someone who hurt one of them. Yes. Camilla stood too. I won't accept this. Then you'll force my hand to make this public. Is that what you want? The recordings released? The full story in every paper? Your reputation destroyed over your treatment of a child? You wouldn't dare. Try me. Charles's voice was steel. I have spent my life protecting this institution, but I will burn it to the ground before I let anyone, including you, hurt my grandchildren. They stared at each other. Camilla broke first. This is absurd. I was trying to help her. You were trying to control her. There's a difference. Charles, we're done. Here, you'll receive a revised schedule from your office. Public duties continue as normal. Private family time does not. Those are the terms. They're non-negotiable. Camilla left without another word. Charles sat down alone in his study, picked up his phone, called William. It's done. She understands the restrictions. How did she take it? Badly, but she'll comply. She has no choice. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This isn't over. She'll test the boundaries. We need to be vigilant. We will be. Charles hung up and stared at nothing for a long time. His wife had hurt his granddaughter. That was the reality he had to live with now. He'd chosen his granddaughter. He'd choose her again. Every time. But it didn't make the choice any easier. 3 days later, Wright was called to Commander Wells's office. Wells had been reinstated pending the investigation's conclusion. Lancaster had not. Sergeant Wright, sit. Wright sat. Wells looked uncomfortable. I owe you an apology. You were right. About everything. I should have pushed harder. Should have gone directly to the Prince of Wales the moment I heard those recordings. Yes, sir, you should have. Wells nodded. Fair enough. He pulled out an official document. Prince William has requested you be assigned as Princess Charlotte's primary protection officer. Permanent detail, if you're willing. Wright's eyes widened. Sir, I'm not senior enough for... You're exactly senior enough. Charlotte trusts you. That matters more than rank. Wells slid the document across the desk. It comes with a promotion, staff sergeant, and a formal commendation for actions beyond the scope of duty. Wright picked up the document. Read it twice. This is deserved. You risked your career to protect a child who'd been failed by every level of command above you. The Prince wants to make sure that's recognized. What about Lancaster? Forced retirement. Effective immediately. He'll keep his pension, but his career is over. Wright nodded slowly. And the investigation? Ongoing, but the conclusions are pretty clear. Protocol was followed at the expense of common sense. Rules were prioritized over a child's safety. That won't happen again. Wells stood. The prince would like to meet with you. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. His private office at Kensington Palace. Yes, sir? And Wright? Thank you for being the one person in this entire mess who understood that sometimes doing the right thing means breaking the rules. Wright left, feeling like the ground had shifted under him. He'd expected to be fired. Instead, he was being promoted and personally thanked by the Prince of Wales, because he'd listened when a 9-year-old asked for help. The next morning, Wright arrived at Kensington Palace in his dress uniform. He was escorted to William's private office, the same room where Charlotte's recordings had first been played. William stood when he entered, extended his hand. Sergeant Wright, thank you for coming. Sir. Wright shook his hand. Please, sit. William gestured to the chair. I wanted to thank you personally. What you did, finding those recordings, refusing to let them be buried, that saved my daughter from weeks more of mistreatment. I was just doing my job, sir. No, your job was to follow protocol. You chose to do what was right instead. There's a difference. William sat across from him. Charlotte asked me to tell you something. She said thank you for believing her when no one else did. Wright's throat tightened. She did the brave part, sir. Making those recordings. Leaving that note. All I did was find them. You did more than that. You fought for her when people with more authority decided she didn't matter as much as palace politics. William leaned forward. I'm putting you on Charlotte's permanent detail. She trusts you. More importantly, she knows you'll listen if something's wrong. That's worth more than any amount of experience. I'd be honored, sir. Good, because she specifically asked for you. William smiled slightly. She said you're the guard who actually pays attention. Wright felt something in his chest loosen. She's a remarkable kid, sir. She is, and she deserves people around her who see that, who protect that. William stood. Thank you, Sergeant, for giving her that protection when she needed it most. Wright stood too, saluted. It's my privilege, sir. As he left, Wright passed Charlotte in the hallway. She was with her mother, heading to another part of the palace. She saw him and smiled. A real smile, not the practiced one for cameras. Hi, Sergeant Wright. Your Highness? He nodded respectfully. Mummy told me you're going to be my guard now, like all the time. If that's all right with you. It's very all right. Charlotte's smile grew. Thank you for finding my phone, for making sure someone heard it. Thank you for being brave enough to make those recordings. Charlotte's expression turned serious. I was really scared, but I knew I had to, because if I didn't have proof, no one would believe me. Kate's hand tightened on her daughter's shoulder. Well, everyone believes you now, Wright said gently. I know. Charlotte looked up at her mother, then back at Wright. It feels better, not being alone with it anymore. You're not alone. You never will be again. Charlotte nodded. Then she and Kate continued down the hallway. Wright watched them go. Watched Charlotte walk with her mother's hand on her shoulder. Protected, believed, safe. That was worth everything. Every broken rule, every career risk, every consequence. One child, finally safe. 2 weeks later, palace life had settled into a new normal. Camilla attended public events, smiled for cameras, maintained her schedule, but she was never alone with any of the children. Staff made sure of it. William and Kate made sure of it. At first, she tested the boundaries, suggested tea with Charlotte, was politely declined, requested time with George and Louis, was told their schedules didn't allow it. After the third refusal, she stopped asking. The media noticed nothing. To them, it looked like the usual royal family dynamics. Some events together, some apart. Nothing unusual. Inside the palace, everyone who needed to know understood the truth. Charlotte's recordings had been preserved as evidence, locked away but accessible if needed, a reminder that the truth had been documented, that it couldn't be denied. The investigation into Royal Protection's handling of the situation concluded with new protocols. Any report involving a minor's safety would be immediately escalated. No exceptions, no judgment calls, straight to the parents, straight to senior royals. Lancaster's forced retirement was announced quietly. Pursuing other opportunities, the statement read. No one outside the palace knew the real reason. Commander Wells kept his position, but was demoted. He'd failed in his duty. He accepted the consequences. Wright took his new position as Charlotte's primary protection officer. She seemed lighter now, more like herself. She laughed more, asked questions more. The careful mask she'd worn had started to crack, revealing the bright, curious child underneath. One afternoon, 3 weeks after the recordings were found, Charlotte approached Wright during a public event. "Can I ask you something?" she said quietly. "Of course, Your Highness." "Did you get in trouble for finding my phone and telling people about it?" Wright knelt down so they were eye level. "A little bit, but the right kind of trouble. The kind that means you did the right thing even when it was hard. I'm glad you did it anyway." "Me too." Charlotte looked at him seriously. "If something's ever wrong again, not with grandmother, but with anything, I can still tell you, right?" "Always. That's what I'm here for." "Good." She smiled. "Because now I know that if I tell someone and they don't listen, I can find proof, like I did before." "Or," Wright said gently, "you can trust that the people around you will listen the first time. You shouldn't have to prove you're telling the truth, Charlotte. Your word should be enough." She thought about that. "Do you really think it will be? Next time?" "I'll make sure it is." Charlotte nodded, satisfied. Then she ran back to join her brothers. Wright watched her go, watched her laugh at something George said, watched her chase Louis around a garden fountain. Just a kid. Being a kid. Without fear shadowing every interaction. That evening, William found Wright before he went off duty. "She talked to you today. I saw." "Yes, sir. She wanted to know if I'd gotten in trouble." "What did you tell her?" "The truth. That sometimes doing the right thing comes with consequences, but it's still worth doing." William smiled. "Good answer." He paused. "You know, when I was younger, I thought protecting people meant following all the rules, doing everything by the book. It took me too long to realize that sometimes the rules are wrong. Sometimes protecting people means breaking them." "Yes, sir. Charlotte taught me that. A 9-year-old had to teach me that." William looked toward where his children were playing. "She shouldn't have had to be that brave, but she was, and you honored that bravery by making sure it wasn't wasted. She deserved someone to fight for her, sir. She did, she does, and now she has that." William extended his hand again. "Thank you, Sergeant, for being that person." They shook hands. Then William went to join his family. Charlotte saw him coming and ran to him. He scooped her up, spun her around. She laughed, pure and bright and free. Wright watched from his post, 20 feet away, close enough to respond, far enough to be invisible. That's how royal protection worked. You saw everything. You said nothing. Unless a child needed you to say something, then you said it. Consequences be damned. Because some things mattered more than rules, more than protocol, more than career. A child's safety, a child's voice. A child's right to be believed. Charlotte had found her voice, had documented her truth, had asked for help. And finally, someone had listened. That was the real story, not the lockdown, not the confrontations, not the investigations. The story was that a 9-year-old girl had been brave enough to ask for help, and one guard had been brave enough to make sure she got it. Everything else was just details. True duty isn't about following orders blindly. It's about knowing when rules matter less than doing what's right. Princess Charlotte made those recordings because she needed someone to believe her. She needed proof that what she was experiencing was real. One guard found that proof and refused to let it be buried. He risked his career. He broke protocol. He fought through every level of command that tried to silence a child's cry for help. And because of that, Charlotte learned the most important lesson of all, that her voice matters, that her truth matters, that she deserves to be heard, not because she's a princess, because she's a person, a child who needed protection, and finally got it. If this story showed you something about courage you didn't expect, make sure you're subscribed to our channel. We share these untold stories from inside the palace every single day. Drop a comment. If you found evidence like this, would you risk everything to make sure it was heard? Would you break the rules to protect a child? We'll see you in the next one.